Hello folks, welcome back to the Red Arrow, and I have a new word today. Get ready for it. Strasverbinder. Now, it has been a while since we have been working on the Red Arrow. There's been various things going on and housework and truck and all this. So, mission now is to get on with the wiring on the Red Arrow and also use some of that to feed into my new series on wiring EVs. So, what we're going to be going through is the high voltage and signal wiring on the inverter, getting that installed into the vehicle hopefully today. And then we will move on with the rest of it. Because the plan now, as the winter approaches, is that I want to be able to work on the Red Arrow and the truck. And I want to be able to do that inside the barn. And the easiest way to do that is if both vehicles are under their own power. The truck's driving now, obviously not finished by any means, but it can be moved around under its own steam. So the plan is to get the Red Arrow to a similar state. That also then lets me do things like messy jobs on this vehicle, like the cutting the sills out and all that kind of thing can be done outside rather than making a mess on my lovely clean floor. So that's enough talking. Let's get on with the wiring. Okay folks, welcome to the messy workbench. And today's fun-packed mission is going to be connecting high voltage to our GS300 inverter. Now, in order to do that, we're going to be using the, let's call it, connector unit designed by Andy BP on the Open Inverter Forum. So this is a 3-part 3D print, and you will find the files for this on GitHub. I'll put a link in that to the description, in the video description for those interested. So a few other things you're also going to need. So let's open it up and we'll show you what we have to do. So first thing is you're going to need some M4 hardware. These guys are M4 countersink. As I say, they're M4 by 20s. I'm going to need 2 of those. Now, I didn't have, these should be countersunk as well. These are just M4 machine screws. They're M4 by 12. So these guys, here, I should be turning it that way for you to see. It'd be a help, wouldn't it? So there's 3 of these in the cover. Now, that cover then is quite a nice fit in this. So let me just pop that up and out. So, you're also going to need one of these things with these little inserts. You're going to need some M4 inserts for this. So these guys just have little kind of knurled bits on them. They're very hard to see here, I know, but you basically heat these up with your soldering iron and just push them into the 3D printed part, and the plastic then basically just melts around them, and they're pretty good. It's been a long time since I'd used those, but get a little kit of those from AliExpress for a couple of bucks. So then what you are going to need are 2 brass terminal pins to go in here. Now, there is a drawing on the GitHub page as well for these. So they're just a piece of, I think, like 16mm brass bar. I drilled these through 6.5. Just turned them on the lathe reasonably accurately to fit, and these guys just basically pop in there like this. Go on. And then that gives you your 2 brass connection points that are going to, this whole part here is going to push up into the bottom of the inverter, and these will carry our high voltage in for us. Now you're again going to need some M6 by 40 cap screws. I use here, you can probably get away with a normal hex head. I use cap screws. Naturally I didn't have the ones the right length, so I had to cut these guys down, and they'll then go in like this, and they'll bolt us down. Now what we do have to do before that, of course, is to get our high voltage cables in here. Now this I found to be a little bit tricky. I've been monkeying around with this here, hopefully so you won't need to. Get my high voltage cables, which I've down here. Now I'm using 35 square on this. This is what it's been kind of designed for, and it'd be kind of the right size for this. Unfortunately, I'm nearly out of 35 square. I have tons of 50, which of course won't fit. But I managed to find a couple offcuts of 35 that will do the trick for me. This piece here, the black one, had been previously crimped. I don't know where this came from. It was something I picked up somewhere. It's got a nice thin kind of a heat shrink on it, and that pops in there no problem. And then when we're on the vehicle, we'll be able to just pop our bolt in through that, and then that'll screw into the inverter. Now the problem I had when I was making up the red one was I'd used a kind of a glue heat shrink. It's a Raychem one, and it is a pretty thick section. And when I put it on there, I actually couldn't insert the there wasn't enough space here to get the cable in. So I had to kind of look around a bit, and I managed to find some of this clear stuff. It doesn't have glue on it, and it's quite thin. So that worked out well. That'll go in there now, like so. Again, bolt through here, and when we have them in, then we will put the cable clamp on there and screw that in. Now the heat shrinking on that is not super critical because it's going to be inside this, but this isn't a watertight housing, so obviously you want to give your terminals as much protection as possible. So okay, that's enough out of me. Let's get in underneath the vehicle and see if we can make this work. I'm not gonna treat you to me fishing these cables around, because it is going to be quite torturous in the way that I have the front of the car set up. So we'll just show you how to connect this guy up, because the rest of it will be particular to your build anyway. Okay folks, welcome to the underside of the Red Arrow. Forgot to mention there on the bench as well that you're going to need an M5 fastener to go in here, because this guy is going to hold our connector in here. So I guess that's what I'm going to call it anyway, as a connector. So it's a good tight fit in here, so I don't know, I might need to give it a little touch of sandpaper, but I'm going to try and put it in as is. But hey, $10 says I break this and have to print it again. Wow, I didn't break it. That's crazy. But I bet you this bolt's too short. Actually, might not be. That'd be nice. Yeah, that ain't gonna fall out anyway. All right, let me reposition, and we'll get some cables in here. Alright, sorry for the Gomi camera work on this, folks. It's going to be A bit tricky for me to get an angle on this when my big gomy head isn't in the way. So we got our two cables fished in. I'm going to put a little bit of conduit on them now. And then we should be good to hook them up here, which is the bit you're looking for. Well, probably not really, but you know, I'll just pretend. It'll make me feel good about myself, you know, like I'm actually helping, even though I'm not. There we go. Alright. Let's get him out here. Yeah, he's good to go. Now, so the positive is on this side. So if you look here, there's a little kind of a black plug. So it's on that side is our positive high voltage battery terminal. So what we are going to do is get our knife, cut that bit of conduit back, and I've got to leave myself enough room to slot in here. So I'm going to cut it back about here. Professional cutting job as always, just gouge it in any possible way and probably get some blood in the mix as well. Alright, let's see how that looks. Do have to do a fair bit of an angle here, unfortunately, but I think we can do it. Yeah, I think we can do that. Okay, so let me put a bit of tape on this in the hopes, probably false hopes, of course, that this is going to all work out perfectly fine, even though it probably won't. Let's see if I can get some orange heat shrink. Could be a nicer job than this tape, albeit probably not as easy to do underneath the vehicle. Now, so we're going to need one of our brass fixtures, which of course, because we're upside down here, that's not going to want to stay in there, is it? Oh, it does. Wow. Andy, I'm impressed. Okay, so now that we've that in there, of course, of course I knew it was going to fit in there and stay in there more likely. Right, so twist our cable through a perfectly acceptable angle here. Let's see here, how can we actually get it to pull in here without tearing us apart? I think we can, yes, I think we can. Now, can we get it to line up into that? Oh, I think it's actually going in, folks. Yep. All right. Of course, we got a Nordlock washer on that as well for maximum coolness. Yeah, there we go. That's our positive cable connected. I'm going to get a bit more conduit now and we'll do our negative one. Great fun. Yeah, I nearly make an entire episode out of this, just how to crawling around underneath a car wiring up flipping HV connector. There we go. Let's see conduit on our negative wire. There we go. There he is. Yeah, he's all the way up. So I guess same again here. We'll get our knife. That's not a knife. There we go. Okay. Now we need more tape. High quality EV building here, folks. Every expense spared. I'm just keeping the conduit back up on this because we don't obviously have much room here for that kind of thing. That's okay. Alright, let's see if the other one wants to go in here. That's probably a negative Ghost Rider, knowing my luck. Oh yeah, it does. That's a positive Ghost Rider. Okay. Let's see if we get this negative in here now. Oh no, this is a negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. Oh, blasted. Yeah. It wasn't a 90-degree version of this thing. I probably could design one, but that'd be way beyond my CAD skills anyhow. Alright. There we go. This guy's coming in. Come on, Ghost Rider. There you go. Ghost Rider. Yeah. Wish I had a Ghost Writer for this stuff. Make life a lot easier, wouldn't it? Arm. Right, back to life, arm. Yeah, I'm an arm core 3 kind of a guy. There we go, folks. There's our high voltage on there. Gonna go ahead now and get our caps go on here, and we should be good to go. Thankfully. Oh, I will not be sad when this job is done. Okay. Let's try the cap. Okay. One thing just with those heat inserts, particularly in a fairly pliable material like this, you don't want to go mad tight in them. They're only to keep the cap on there. There we go. Now, hopefully these ones I have will be long enough for this part. Right, there we go. And we get a 7mm socket here. So I assume it to be a 7. Yeah. Yeah, that's biting in there now, alright. I said, just gotta be cautious because there won't be a lot of. There we go. It's doing the job. It's definitely bit onto it. Let's see if I can. Yeah, pulling in. Quite impressed with that, actually. Half expecting it to pull the insert out. I'm sure it would be only too happy to do so under the wrong circumstances. Looking good. Yeah. You know what, folks? That is good enough for a government job. Okay, I figure this part's not going to end well, so we'll catch it on camera for everyone else to avoid. This is our MG, I'm just calling it Gen 2 charger. This is the one that has the V2L in it. This is what we're going to be using in the Red Arrow. Now, I got this cheap because I've been in a crash damaged car. So we got one of the water connections broken off, and also the high voltage connection has been a bit trashed. Now this we can cope with easy enough. This guy here though is a little bit of a problem. So the diameter in there is about 10.8 millimeters. So I had to search around through my various taps, and I have an M12 by 1.25 tap here. So if I was tapping this just into a piece of material, I'd be drilling 10.75 or 10.8 or something like that. So we're fairly close here. This is unfortunately a second tap, so it doesn't have a nice taper on it to give me a lead in. But we're going to give it a shot anyway. Now I know the internet will be screaming at me about all the metal chips and all this that are going to get ingested into my cooling system. Yep, 100% folks. We are going to try and blast them out with a bit of compressed air and brake clean and stuff like that. Now this could go terribly wrong because obviously what the tap is doing in here is it's cutting a thread into the aluminium. And in order to do that, it has to remove some material. And in doing so, it has to eat into that wall of whatever we have in the casting in here. Let me move this out a little bit. So the problem is, if there's not enough metal in that casting, then we're going to punch a hole into the coolant jacket, and it's good night Gracie. So professionalism and also risk taking, it's part of the EV adventure, folks. Now the good news is, if this does work, then we can easily get an M12 by 1.25 hydraulic fitting to go in here. And with a bit of luck, put a bit of tread tape or a bit of Boss White and flax on there, and we should be good to go. Okay, we have treads, and good job I stopped when I did, because it kind of, I know it'll be impossible to see, but it kind of makes it kind of takes off at a bit of an angle in there once you get in past where I've treaded. So I don't think I've managed to punch a hole into the cooling jacket, but of course we will only know that when we put coolant in, and if it starts pouring out through the terminals here, that's when we know we'll have a problem. But the only other thing I have to do is just grind off that little stub that's just sticking out there, and I'll get an M12 hydraulic fitting from my hydraulics guy, and we'll put a copper washer in there and tighten it in, and hopefully it'll give us a coolant port. Rusty sills. So much sponsorship waiting in there. Oh yeah, look at that sponsorship in there. So much of it just waiting for me. Okay folks, as we saw there, we've got our high voltage cables installed from the inverter. Brought them up through my tray here. Got my positive and negative. So the mission now is using that land over there. We're going to be getting our signal cable up from the inverter. Alright, so quick look starting here. This is a plug that goes on the inverter. It brings power, resolvers and serial comms from our VCU to the inverter. These are our two resolver connectors. So our MG1, this is our MG2. We've got their associated grounding points for the screens. Then we've our cable bundle made up. Here we come up into this mess job here because I haven't bothered tidying this up yet because I don't know the exact length. But it's pretty straightforward if you kind of break it down. We've got a red wire. That one's going to be our positive supply to the inverter from the inverter relay. We've got a nice thick 2.5 ground. That's just 12 volt ground. Got our 4 pairs of communication wires. They just go to the VCU. It does the serial comms. And then finally, I have a 2 pair twisted wire here. I haven't even stripped that yet. It just has the the motor temperature sensors coming up. So that's our loom that we're going to wrestle into the vehicle now. I'll cover that in some more detail if folks wish, but I did quite a segment on that in a bench testing video. I'll try and dig that out and put a link in the description for you. So yeah, we're going to wrestle this guy in and see what we get. Okay folks, I decided to spare you the fun of watching me wrestling that cable loom in to the vehicle here. But what I will try and do now is show you where we need to connect things. See how terrible this looks. I do have to feed up a little bit more of this wiring loom, I think. Oh, great. It got caught. Of course it did. Yes, this is rapidly turning into one of these Strasser-Binder situations, as the Germans would say. Now, and keep fishing. There we go. Keep going. Go on. Go on. Yeah, maybe I won't spare you all of my pain. Maybe I'll actually let you experience some of it. Okay. Yes. You too can experience the pain of the Strasser-Binder. Now, okay. Let's see if we can get you over here. So I don't know how terrible this is going to look. Yeah, terrible. Absolutely terrible. Oh yeah. Let's see if we can break something here. With a bit of luck, we can break something. Alright, so there's my hand. This is our main inverter connector. And I have no idea, by the way, if this main inverter connector is going to actually physically be able to fit on here the way I have this thing installed. So that's great. We're going to take our 2 resolver and temperature sensor connectors. I'm going to feed those little doohickeys up here under, or I should say over the one of these chassis bracing things. They have to go over here. Strasser-Binder. Of course, over here. Now, right, go on. You guys go over there. Don't cause anyone any trouble. Okay? Not to cause people trouble. Why can I not zoom? Where's my zoom on this thing? I don't know. I'm gonna expert camera work. Well, thank you very much. Alright, let's try some of this expert camera work then. Because right up there, beside the steering column, yours truly decided that would be the best place to have the electrical connector for the inverter. And of course, I don't know right now, maybe we can see, because if I can see in there, I know that those pins up the top are the larger ones. Yeah, so therefore I gotta have this guy, the larger pins facing that way, and then this is the catch end down here, which is actually kind of good. All right, so that's got to be upwards, that's got to be downwards, and of course it's the wrong way around. Oh yeah, naturally. See, this, folks, this is why don't do what I do. Just go buy a Tesla. It's easier. That's going to be the solution to all the world's problems. Just go buy a Muskmobile. Oh, I got it. Oh my God, it's actually on there. I don't believe it. Holy Strasverbinder, Batman. Yes. Okay. I will now actually genuinely try and show you this instead of just teasing. I don't know if this will be visible, but there it is. It's in there. I'm gonna obviously have to cable tie this thing up safely to make sure we're not rubbing against any. So these are our resolver and temperature sensor connectors on the side of the gearbox. Yeah, there you can see the two of them. Now, the one that's nearer the front, that's going to be MG1. One that's nearer the rear is going to be MG2. So this is going to be MG1. And yep, that would be the wrong way around again. It's MG1 and that's nearer the front, yes. So let's try that again. Yes, there we go. And here comes MG2. Yes. So there we go. Now, they're on. So the next thing we got to do is we got to attach these earthing points onto the gearbox. And then I'm going to come in here with the old cable ties and clean up this little mess. Won't bring you around for that because, again, it's going to pretty much depend on your own setup. But yeah, that's a professional job, Damien. Well done. Okay, so update time. Don't know if that'll come out, it probably won't. I plugged in the high voltage cable to the battery and I've got that routed up, coming up behind the tray here now. Then this morning went up to my hydraulics guy to see if we could come up with a plan for our charger port there that I had tapped out. Now unfortunately we couldn't get something neat. We were ending up with very small and fittings and it was just getting a bit silly. So decided to see if I could machine something, and my hydraulics guy very kindly gave me a loan of his really impressive tap and die set, which quite fortunately has an M12 by 1.25 die. So I fired up the lathe and machined a little piece out of aluminium. So it's 19 millimeters hose tail and then M12 by 1.25 treads on this piece here. Now there's a restriction on that. That's an 8.5 hole in that, but that guy then, bet you now because I'm on camera it'll mess up or cross thread or do something silly. Yeah, of course it will, as I've been putting this in and out all morning here testing it, and now as soon as I go to film it, it's like, nah, I'm not going in there. There it goes. So that guy treads in there and gives me a hose tail back on here. I'm gonna use a bit of flax and pipe sealant on this, just on the treads, because obviously it's impossible to get a nice flat surface on the charger there for that to tie up against. So I'm going to get that done, and then, yes, then we're going to get our charger hopefully bolted in here. And I'm working on our radiator as well, which is going to be this guy. And you have a piece of aluminium, or not aluminium, steel. Bit of 50 by 50 angle, which we'll be installing in the front of the vehicle. I have my 3D printed clamp for the Bosch PCE pump, so that'll be going on there. We'll update you more on that when we get this guy doing something. But yeah, we're chopping through some of the jobs on the Arrow this week now, so we'll hopefully be getting into a good position for some more wiring. Alright, more Red Arrow action. So I'm waiting on some pins for my BMS connection for the battery. I thought we'd work away on the cooling a bit more. So once we got our fitting there on the charger, been able to use a molded piece here to go down, and this is now hooking onto one side of the inverter converter, which is underneath us. Now up on the front then, I have, what have I got? Okay, so I have my radiator kind of mounting bar thing installed. So I have my radiator just sitting in there at the minute, and I have my Bosch PCE pump in there beside it. That happens to be an MG one. It's the very same pump as I used on the truck. So I'm going to be putting, don't have it yet, that's also on the way. It's a little Nissan Leaf cooling tank. It's going to put this in here. That'll be the reservoir for us. I have some, probably print something to go in here to hold that. Anyhow, what I'm working out at the minute is my gearbox cooling. So I'd been kind of procrastinating on this a bit because my gearbox obviously uses oil cooling. So I'd picked up, several months ago now, this thing. So that's some kind of generic heat exchanger, just some eBay job. So you could connect your oil to these two ports here and then loop the coolant through these guys here. Now that's one option, I guess, but I don't know how good or bad that is. Then I was casting around the workshop here, and my eye was caught by this guy. This is our Gen 4 Toyota Prius test stand here. And this indeed has a lovely little plate heat exchanger here. That would actually, would be designed for the task, at least on a Gen 4 Prius. So these are our oil lines here, and then coolant on these nice 19mm lines there. So I think I'm going to do is I'm going to whip this guy off, and we'll do a little bit of size fitting around underneath the vehicle. I'd also been thinking about doing it with a different radiator, so just having the water rad just there for the charger and inverter converter, and then a separate oil cooler rad up the front, but then that Prius one has kind of made me think again, and I've got a nice little spot underneath here that might just work out for that. I'm going to whip that guy off, blow out any oil out of it, and we'll see then if that might do the trick for us underneath the vehicle. Alright, let's see how much of a terrible mess I can make here. I don't honestly remember if I had fluid in this. I do know I haven't had it spinning under power, so hopefully that would mean there wouldn't be any fluid pumped down into this guy, but who knows. Hey folks, the right tool for the job. Oh yeah, we're definitely got some bleeding out going on here. Did the Americans call it a triple homicide when the gearbox fluid comes out? Oh, there we go. Okay, it's out. I'm going to blow a little bit of compressed air through that just to get out any of that fluid so it's not pouring out on me when I'm monkeying around under the vehicle with it. Fun. I got a pro tip for you. See, it's generally best not to buy your tap and die set from the Acme cheapo tap and die set corporation, because they're generally crap. Much better to buy your tap and die set from Presto or someone like that. Now the problem is, see, this set I found in the dump, in this lovely wooden box with some of the most popular sizes missing. So like if I wanted to tap M7, that I would be well set. Also M11, who needs M10. And got these lovely die stocks and tap holder and all that kind of thing. And this was probably born way before me and will probably be still going way after me. Because guess what? It was made by someone that actually cared. It was made to last, so that a tool maker would buy one set of taps and dies once. And short of breaking off one in a particularly arduous job, that would be it. But no, this was in the dump, because who needs tools anymore when you can just buy cheap crap from the Acme cheap crap company? In underneath the vehicle time. Apologies for that rant, folks. Just let's just say, lying on my back, drilling and tapping stainless steel under a car. Not exactly anyone's idea of a good time. However, I do have some good news. Our Prius Gen 4 heat exchanger is now bolted into this part of the adapter plate. I've been fiddling around with some pieces of holes here to figure out a nice way to make my routing. So this vertical one here is coming down from the battery charger. That's going to go, that's going to join into the heat exchanger water in, and the heat exchanger water out here is going to head back towards the front of the vehicle to the radiator input. But I'll show you more of that once we've a bit more progress done, and I'll make some pipe clamps, just 3D print some stuff that'll go around that and grab this guy. So this is kind of neat. I used to, one good thing I did have in the previous place that I lived was I had a pretty friendly scrapyard nearby, and so when I was kind of bored or was fed up doing something, I'd go down there and just look around. And the things I used to do was just bring a knife with me and any kind of easy bits of coolant holes and these kind of formed holes, bends and stuff, I just cut them off. Random cars, most of the time they didn't even charge me for it because it'd be like engine they'd pulled out or something, so this was just rubbish. But when you'd be coming then to do a job like this, what you get is you get automotive grade holes, sometimes even the clamps on them and the forged bends, which, you know, can kind of make a really neat job for you. I know you can buy kind of silicon ones and all this kind of thing, but yeah, that's money, so I prefer to spend it on batteries. Unfortunately now, the way this country's gone, there's yeah, the scrapyards are, I don't know what they're doing really. You know, I don't even think they should bother getting out of bed, let's just say. Anyway, you're not here to hear me rant about Presto taps and scrapyards and all that kind of thing. Oh, shockingly, by the way, the Presto tapped this. Yeah, fine. Anyhow, enough ranting. So I ran out of Jubilee clips. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish up today now. I'm just going to cut this holes to size and just shove a elbow in there. And then I'll get some Jubilee clips tomorrow and we can continue the adventure. And while we're on the subject, I guess, yeah, this is my kind of box where I kind of have all my fittings, and I used to put my bits of chopped off holes and that I'd get from the decent scrapyard. These are my kind of go-tos for cooling systems on EVs. These are nylon. I think they're 6/6 nylon, so they're, you know, they're tough as nails. They might as well be steel. They can easily take the temperatures and pressures that we have in EV cooling systems. I use those, I just buy bags of them and try to have a good selection there. And you get like adapters and joiners and right angles and T's and all this. Like, I get them from an actual Irish company here. I don't know where they come from, but I'm sure you can get them from AliExpress or anywhere else. And more cooling system fun. Okay, so pump and the rad, which you probably can't see too well, they're now bolted in, and I have the power cable running into the back of the pump. So let's have a look underneath. Okay, so we saw there yesterday, we've our heat exchanger bolted in, not light. There we go. Yeah, our heat exchanger bolted in, and I got some fuel line this morning from the motor factor. We've that in here on the oil side. Those hoses then just go back over there to the gearbox oil cooler connection thingies. So I got to make some 3D printed clips and that to hold this in, but good news is we're actually in there. Now I have one coolant side hose connected as well. This one comes down from the charger. So our coolant will be going into the inverter, through the inverter, over into the charger DC-DC, back out of the charger DC-DC, into the heat exchanger where it'll pick up whatever heat the gearbox wants to give us. Then it'll be coming off this guy here and going back up to the radiator on the front. So that's about it. I've had to order some more 16mm holes because I've only got little bits and that, and I don't really want to have like loads of joins and stuff in it. Apart from being silly, it wouldn't work out any cheaper anyway by the time I'd buy a load more Jubilee clips. So that's kind of where we're at on the cooling system. Okay, so here's one thing I would ask for a bit of assistance with. So this is our MG charger, DC-DC converter. Now the high voltage DC connection, as we know, was broken off, so I've just manually connected to that. But the AC connector is perfectly fine. The problem is I'm not able to get the matching plug for it. It looks on one hand like a TE plug. When you look at the diagrams for the TE plug, it's actually completely different internally. Now this guy here, there's a bunch of numbers on him. I don't know if you'll be able to see those, but I'll write them out for you. And if anyone has a source for that little plug, or even has an MG charging port that you're not using the plug from, and be willing to cut it off and sell it to me, and please do get in touch. Alright, so this is this connector. It's a YGC 1174-EV-S brackets 3+2. It's a Chinese, as I say, version of this TE plug. Yes, I could get them from eBay here, but that price would be virtually doubled by the time I'd get that into Ireland, pay all the goods and duties and whatever else. I'd rather not pay that for a little plastic connector. So, as I say, if anyone has a source for these, or even has one of these charging sockets that they don't need the connector from, then let me know. So for example, there's a MG5 charging port loom there, so that's the connector there that I would need. So if you have one of these and don't need that plug, then like I say, give me a shout. Okay folks, so that's kind of about where we're at. What I'm going to be doing for this video, I think there'll be enough in there. Do have a VCU built up for the Arrow, and so it's going to be wiring next week now, while I'm waiting on some of that heater hose to come in, so I can finish off the cooling system. I've also got to wait for the Nissan Leaf fill bottle to come in, then we can get all that tidied up. But I'll crack on with the wiring next week anyway. The only other jobs then mechanically is I have to sort out the automatic shifter cable between the BMW one and the Lexus gearbox. Not super critical that I'd have that for a quick drive, but it'd be nice to have that sorted out. What else is there? Yeah, so then I have to plug back in the various sensors on the back axle, speedo, ABS, all that, tidy that up. Handbrake cables are in. Oh yeah, we've got to do rear brakes, so we've got the calipers need to be cleaned up and resealed. They've got to go on with the pads. I've got to do, I've got brake lines to go in. I did splurge, I got them from BMW. They're not super expensive at this age and this type of vehicle, so we have to bend those into shape, but at least it cuts out the flaring and all that kind of thing, because I do want to have brakes when I'm driving this thing. Because from what I hear, the 300H has a bit of kick in it, so yeah. Yes, I know we could go pole barn on this and have front brakes only and all that kind of thing, but no, just no. We're gonna have brakes, and preferably ABS braking too. So yeah, good bit to go on the Arrow, folks, but we're back on her, and we'll keep on trucking, pun intended. So, as always, don't forget to give these nonsense videos a good dislike, and unshare, unsubscribe, all that good stuff. And that way then we won't see you in the next semi-exciting episode. Do check the links in the description for the Open Inverter Forum, Wiki, GitHub, all that stuff. As usual, avoid the Patreon, PayPal, and support, because then I just spend your hard-earned cash on car parts for these stupid projects. Then make stupid videos with stupid car parts. don't do it. So, until next time, happy Bowden cable wrangling.